Welcome to the next edition of Counsel Table. We're here with a very good dear friend of mine, Hunter Kraft. And Hunter, we can't thank you enough for being here today. Can you start us out? Tell us a little bit about yourself. What are you doing these days?
Well, first of all, thank you guys. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I have a tremendous amount of respect for you guys, and I really appreciate the opportunity. I'm a small business owner, man. I don't know what else to tell you. We've got 4 lawyers. We work catastrophic personal injury cases. My background came up through the defense side, not much different than Moy's, not much different from yours. Started out on the defense side and then just came up through the catastrophic injury ranks doing a lot of product liability. And that's, sort of morphed into a lot of trucking and oil field work. And that's sort of what we do.
How many total cases do you have?
We keep a small docket. That's a great question, Tommy. I know you and I hadn't visited before. One of the things that I've always tried to do my entire career, and especially since I left and started my own firm in 2013, is keep a manageable docket. I loved where I came from, but they focused more and more on mass torts, and that wasn't my gig. So my pledge to myself and really to my clients is that everybody in the case, everybody in our office that's involved in the case is going to be intimately familiar with the clients, with the facts, with the details, and that limits us to about 25 or 30 cases at any one given time.
Hunter, we want to talk about mentoring younger lawyers here, but you mentioned something that you started on the defense side,
yeah.
And I think, without naming names, I think you have a very interesting story of why you decided to come to the plaintiff side, if you don't mind sharing with us.
Yeah, it was great. On the defense side, I got to see a lot of cool stuff. While we're talking about mentoring, some of the names that some of the listeners may not appreciate or know anymore, somebody like Moy will still appreciate them, is I walked in and I was handed Otway Denny and Steve Dillard's briefcases. And my first, I don't want to call it semester, but it was that fall when I joined the firm, Otway went along with Daryl Barger, the late, great Daryl Barger, and tried a lawsuit about 4 Texas oil workers who were killed when they went across over to Pakistan to audit one of the oil companies, and they were all assassinated on a bridge going from their hotel to the place of work one day. And Ronnie Crist, Alice Oliver Parrott, and David Burrow had that on the plaintiff side. And so one of the first months of my career was sitting in the courtroom 8 hours a day watching the cross-examination style of guys like Otway Denny, Daryl Barger, Alice Oliver Parrott, David Burrow, and Ronnie Crist.
Current legends.
Yeah, and so that opened up my eyes. And then really I was at a hearing in Beaumont, Texas, that another plaintiff's lawyer came to say, hey, look, a guy named Michael Watts out of Corpus is expanding to Houston, and he's looking for some people. And I ended up having lunch with one of his eventual partners, Denman Hurd, and just really decided this is where I wanted to be. And it was a natural fit. I figured out about 5 days into it, that's exactly where I wanted to be.
That's great. You've done really well, and I've always been impressed with you. In fact, as you may know, I always come out to you for advice. For as long as I've known you, I've always reached out to you. I've had trust with you from the beginning, and you've helped me as a younger lawyer and kind of mold to where I am today. So I can't thank you enough, but I think other people can benefit from your advice as well.
Well, I appreciate that. I grew up in on the defense side, I didn't have a lot of mentorship, and I hate to say that, but it wasn't a lot of one-on-one. And then through the evolution of the plaintiff's firm that I joined, when Denman and Michael broke up, I was 27 years old and handed the key to an office. I'd been doing plaintiff's work for about 18 or 20 months and was given the keys to the car and said, drive it either off the cliff or down the road, whichever way it goes.
How old were you?
I was 27.
Wow.
27 years old and had no idea about firm administration, really had no idea how to run an office. I certainly didn't have any idea how to finance experts, which experts to hire. I was sitting in the first meeting that we ever had when I came over to the new firm, and somebody said something about a referral lawyer, and I raised my hand and asked what a referral lawyer was. I mean, that's how green I was.
These are all the questions I asked about 18 months ago.
Yeah, right.
You can kind of have to share with me how to finance experts, because my wife says, stop using the operating account to finance everything.
Yeah.
So there you go.
It's fun. We actually had this conversation right before we started here. He's like, just certain things you got to find out. And
you just got to find out.
Yeah.
ex-father-in-law used to call it the blessing of a skinned knee, right? I mean, there's just sometimes you just got to skin your knee so that you learn it and remember it, man.
Who are the 4 people on your team?
The 4 people: Alex Hoffman out of Baylor University, University of Texas undergrad, Baylor Law School; Lee Lazier, Tulane University, Baylor Law School; Laura Cockrell, and she is a Texas State undergrad and South Texas School of Law.
And you are Baylor?
I'm Baylor.
So your 3 lawyers you don't share a house with, because Laura's your wife, I believe, are all Baylor Law?
All Baylor Law.
That seems consistent.
It seems consistent.
Why is it consistent, sir?
You know, I'm still a believer in I really think that Baylor does a fantastic job of putting out trial lawyers. And there's a certain loyalty I have to the program and to continue the program that they instill in young lawyers, right? I mean, it's a really great starting point coming out of school. I think they're a little bit ahead of everybody else. But I also think it's sort of a springboard, right? It gives you a real opportunity to sort of dig down, break down, and start at maybe 201 level classes, right? And really be involved in the development of not only their trial skills, but really their ethics, which I think lacks, in today's practice. I think ethics are a big point that I've realized coming out of Baylor, and I'm not saying other law schools aren't, but I'm saying I've really noticed that about Baylor, and it really gives you an opportunity to work on, like I said, trial skills, ethics, and the personal side of practice. There's always that common bond. There's something that you understand. You've kind of lived through Waco together. You know the same professors, you know the buildings, you know the streets, you know the restaurants, and there's that personal end that you can visit with them about and really develop a bond.
How'd you find those guys?
On campus interviews. We needed, we thought long and hard about how many lawyers that we needed. And when it really came time, I knew that, Laura and I had talked about it. It was just, there were 4 or 5 of us before, but there had been some turnover. And we decided that we needed lawyers, and we just really dug deep and decided we were going to bring young lawyers into it and bring from the ground up. So Baylor was a natural starting point for me.
Well, I know that you experienced a birthday recently. I know that starts with a 5 and not a 4. People in your vintage, because I share that vintage, often, particularly in a bespoke, nimble trial practice boutique like you have, are way too scared to go deal with on-campus interviews or even first-year lawyers. They're like, give me the perfect unicorn 5th year that I can put a key in and set out to go do great things for me, and I can go out hustle cases. How come you're different?
I'd tell you I'm the opposite. I'm way too scared not to, and here's why. I have a duty. I really believe, a lot of people use the term true believer as an insult. I don't. I think it's important. I think it's a key element to what we do. I think you got to believe in it. And I'm a true believer in the next generation of lawyers. And I think that we have an obligation, as you said, as we go from the 4s to the 5s, it especially kicks in now. We've got a quarter of a century worth of legal knowledge now. We have a quarter of a century worth of ethics training. We have a quarter of a century worth of experience in life's moments of skinning our own knees. And I tell you, I'm scared not to take young lawyers and train them and work with them so that the future of our profession, when my kids, God forbid, if they ever need something, if they ever need someone, their families ever need someone, that there are people that are trained and skilled and ethical in this business.
There was a point in my life where I always told my wife, Kristen, if anything ever happens to me, call Hunter Kraft first. I've always told her that, and she knows what to do, and I say that with respect to everybody that I work with, but what he's done and what he's capable of doing and putting the passion into it is just unmatched, I think. And so I've got the benefit of working with Alex and Lee both, and more so Alex on a case that we had together. Sure. But what is it that you look for these young lawyers when you're interviewing them? Because I know it's not just 2 people you interviewed and took them. So what are you looking for?
Well, your grades can't suck. Let's start there. Let's get the gorilla in the corner of the room. Your grades can't suck, right? But what I'm really looking for is people that are articulate and then have the it factor. And I don't even know. We've all talked about, in sports, they talk about, well, the guy just has it or she just has it. The same is true in the law, right? You can just see somebody and you can tell pretty early on if that light bulb's going to go off, right? And so I'm looking for somebody that's got the it factor, that the light bulb just seems to go off.
And that comes with years of, I guess, deposing witnesses where you can start judging a person as soon as they walk in, and whether the second they open their mouth, you kind of know, Are they full of it, or are they going to tell you, be a good witness for you?
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you an example. One of the people that we've interviewed on campus made a joke about females being law partners and just assumed that Laura was sitting in the room. Instead of being a capital partner, it was my paralegal that was there to take notes. And, it's just, he got a little mentoring after the interview. But yeah, I mean.
From you or Laura?
Yeah, well, I had I thought I was a better spokesperson to speak on behalf of Laura at that point.
Yeah,
but
was she fuming?
I mean, she's worked hard and she's done well, and for somebody to just automatically assume with an almost law degree to assume she was a paralegal was probably.
How does OCI go when you've got folks that have loans? And I'm not getting into your comp schemes. I know you treat people fairly, but it's, hey, I've got a 3.75. I'm on some law review. I've done a lot of extracurricular. I'm a Locke Lord lawyer. Or I'm a Fulbright lawyer. How does someone say, I'm going to go to Kraft Law Firm? Other than you tell them, hey, look, you can either be in a library, or you can be in a courtroom. Like, what do you sell? When you find candidates, you're like, I want that person in my group. You got to start selling too. What do you sell?
Well, I'll tell you what I sell is personal mentorship. And I remember sitting down with Lee Lazier that day after his interview. He came back and we sat down and had a whiskey at the Hotel Indigo, where we were in Waco doing interviews during COVID. And that was the promise that I made to him. Is look, I know you're going to have some other opportunities. There may be other opportunities that pay you more, but I'll look you in the eye right now, and I promise that I will take you under my wing, and I will make you a better trial lawyer by the time that you decide to leave, stay, whatever you do. Pick a point in time, and I promise you, you have my personal pledge, I will make you a better trial lawyer by that point in time than anywhere else.
And they've been with you now 4 years?
5 years. 5 years. 5 years now.
And they seem to be thriving with you.
Lazier just the other day received the ones to watch for the best lawyers coming up. So he's been recognized as one of the top lawyers under 40, and he's 30, 31. So he's ahead of the curve and doing well. And Alex is really doing a super job too, man. I'm really proud of both of them.
Awesome. Well, I know we're talking specifically about your law firm, but in general, for younger lawyers, let's say 5 years or under practice, as I always say as a millennial, I see differences in Gen Z, and I'm sure the generation ahead of us said the same thing about millennials. But what are you seeing now where you think younger lawyers can improve, or what they should be doing?
First, we're known as Gen X.
I forgot what you guys were called.
We don't wear Nirvana shirts. Ironically, we wear them because they're awesome. And yes,
my 13-year-old nephew wears a Nirvana shirt too. So he knows them too.
I've actually got, I think, an authentic vintage Def Leppard one sitting somewhere in the door, man. That's more our vintage.
Before we get to that question, what was your first concert?
Bruce Hornsby in the Range.
Yeah.
Did you lose a bet?
Huh?
Did you lose a bet?
I don't even know.
No, I like Bruce Hornsby. You don't like Bruce Hornsby?
That is a little MTV. That's a little Gen X. I only know one song, but that's it.
You see how Will all of a sudden he's like, that's a little too old now.
Yeah.
Man, I came from a very conservative household. I mean, I would have liked for it to have been the Texas Jam, that they used to do in the Cotton Bowl. I know.
So
I did once I got to college.
Metallica and Faith No More at Astrodome, like 01.
Yeah.
I went to that. My first concert was Bon Jovi's Cinderella.
Let me tell you, Bon Jovi's my favorite band of all time.
Go.
So
there you go.
I think I just admitted that on air too, didn't I? Yeah. All right.
We were having that debate, or not debate, question of, it's a good icebreaker to ask, what your favorite first concert was, because it kind of tells you where you were in life and what kind of music you like.
Yeah, that's a funny story, because I came from a very conservative household, as most of you guys know that I've talked about, and I wasn't allowed to go. I can't remember which birthday it was, but I was not allowed to go to the Dallas Starplex, which is like y'all Cynthia Woods Pavilion, and I was not allowed to go there unsupervised. So my next door neighbor, who was 4 or 5 years older, he was in high school at the time, and my mom allowed him to take me and a friend to the concert.
There you go.
Bruce Hornsby.
It was about as pure and clean and honest of an experience as you can have at a concert, especially for our first concert.
But I bet you were so excited.
It was fun, man. It was a good show, man. It was a good show.
Good. Well, yeah. So tell us, what do you think younger lawyers and Gen Z, millennials, what should they be doing right now to be successful?
They ought to seek out a mentor. I mean, as we're talking about this, that's the first thing. You've got to have some guidance in this business. And Will and I were joking about kind of finding our own way through this and learning some lessons the hard way. But there's lessons to be learned and just to absorb. One of the main things that I did, and that's why you guys know them, right? With the young lawyers, well, they're not young anymore, but Alex and Lee, is I told them one of the things I want you to do is engage in, when we go have drinks or we go have lunch with other lawyers, I want you to go meet them. I want you to pick the brains or to just listen to the theories, the strategies, the way people hold themselves, the things that people talk about, all of the life's lessons that are applicable to what we do on a daily basis.
Yeah. A lot to be said in war stories, if you will.
War stories, all the way from war stories to, the way people talk about their families, the way that people talk about their wives, the way people talk about opposing counsel, the way people talk about the way they handle money. Are they talking about their Ferraris and their Lamborghinis and their yachts, or are they talking about helping clients? There's little things that can be absorbed like that. Just by sitting in a room, it helps to formulate who they're going to be and what they are.
Yeah. One of the things I've always noticed, I still consider myself a young lawyer, but it has been 12 years, so I'm in that cusp of I should probably know more than I do.
Either that light shining on that or that's a little gray on these sideburns, my friend.
My dad came to the house the other day. You're getting pretty gray.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I was like, hey, Dad.
You have migrated from young lawyer to holy moly, that's gray hair.
It's the kid and the stress and life, but it's gonna go full gray, I think, in like 4 years.
Well, every lawyer is gonna evolve from being the youngest lawyer in the room, which we all were at one point, and now you look around and go, oh my goodness, man, I'm the oldest one here.
Yep. Yeah, it's shocking when people come to me for advice. I'm like, oh, I should know that, and I actually do know that.
You take the question down and then call Hunter and answer?
Yeah. Basically, why do you think I called you yesterday? I called Will in the middle of mediation yesterday.
You're a 12-year, I'm a 7-year.
Yeah,
so
see?
You know way more than I.
Exactly, right? You just think that's what I was like. To me, sometimes, like, in my head, I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm still the youngest lawyer. Then I'm like, I'm not. And the practice goes quick. It really did. And so, but we're in a good spot. But one thing I was found out, when someone would ask me, they're like, call so-and-so, defense counsel, call this person. I was like, okay, I'll shoot him an email. And they're like, no, pick up the phone and call them. And I think that sometimes gets lost. I'm on my phone constantly now, calling or texting with people, but picking up the phone, I think, is a big difference in generations. And I don't know what your thought is on that.
So I'll go back to Moy when he was on the defense side for a little bit. I don't know that you and I ever swapped an email.
I doubt we did.
I don't think we did. I mean, it was just you pick up the phone and call. You pick up the phone and call. I mean, you can, because I understand, this whole new keyboard warrior thing and the way everybody wants to be, but there's a real way to diffuse the situation. I mean, at the end of the day, yeah, we're paid to fight and we're paid for getting the best result, and they're fighting against you to get their best result. I understand that, but we're also in the business of resolving issues. And it's really hard to resolve the issue when the first thing out is an email or a text that can be really taken out of context, that can really be talked through just by tone of voice, affect. There's all kinds of things that don't go into an email.
I found personally that I am a lot more aggressive on my keyboard than I am when I'm speaking to somebody.
Because it's easier, right?
Yeah.
It's just easier.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Sometimes you just want to be really angry, and it's really easy to formulate those thoughts. But when you put someone on the other line, or even face to face, especially, you kind of get down to, oh, I don't really want to be rude to this person. I just want to talk it out. Will was one of the first people that I would pick up the phone and call. We actually got on his way out. We were working a case, and he helped me get it resolved on his way out by picking up the phone and saying, this is where we are, and let's talk about it. And it was great. It helped the client more than anything because of a tough case. But I think picking up the phone is probably one of the best things you can do.
Yeah, look, I mean, there's going to be plenty of defense lawyers out there that could show me where, to eat my words. Over the years, I'm not saying I'm not guilty, but I would tell you that one of the evolutionary things that's happened in my practice, and what I'm trying to rub off on Lee and Alex and certainly Laura, is pick up the phone, man. Just there's a lot of personal relationships that I want to say benefit us, but that's not really true. Ultimately, it benefits your client. Right.
And I think that at the end of the day, it's okay to get along with the other side.
It's okay to do that.
And not everything is a fight. And I think that's one thing that we have to kind of sit back and realize. You can be aggressive when you need to, when it's in the benefit of your client, but it's okay to go out to drinks. It's okay to go out to lunch with opposing counsel and talk about issues. and I don't think people know that or do that.
It's Roadhouse.
Yeah.
Be nice until it's time not to be nice.
Exactly.
That's fair game.
Yeah, and I think younger
The old
guys,
Roadhouse. The Gen
Patrick
X
Swayze.
Roadhouse.
Swayze
The new
Roadhouse.
Yeah.
The Sam Shepard
Yeah,
Roadhouse.
Houston's own.
Yeah,
Patrick
I know.
Swayze.
There's at the park in our neighborhood, the bench is dedicated to the Swayze family. I think he lived in Oak Forest, and so I was like, I did not know that. And I was looking, I was like, there's no way this is not the Patrick Swayze family.
That's it. One day you'll get a bench, Omar.
One day, they don't want to write the Chaudhry family on something.
If anybody's brain, when that name doesn't come up, doesn't go directly to that Chippendale skit that he and Chris Farley did on
That's it.
Saturday Night
yeah.
Live, dude, the self-deprecation behind that and being able to keep a straight face with Farley, God, that was fantastic.
You know, you say that, and it kind of makes me think of Tommy, and I get jealous of Tommy's ability just to be so open and, like, just clear as day in front of the camera. I can't do that. I get very nervous in front of a camera. I get nervous in front of a jury, and hey, that's something you like. How do you just kind of let loose and have no care of what people think?
It's a lot of practice. Actually, we were just because he's my friend, I'll talk to him about it. Shane Osborne, who we just released our first podcast yesterday. Maybe the most. We didn't publish the most flattering picture of Shane on the cover, and not by malice. Sometimes, these things just get posted. Dirk over here posted a photo without any of our approval because that's just how you get things done on the internet. I've had so much practice being embarrassed or looking stupid or having mistakes on videos that you just don't care. It sounds maybe egotistical, but when you have literally millions of followers, I cannot read all of the comments. I can't read the things people say, and 30% of them are probably really nasty things. You go into my DMs, there's a lot of really mean people in there. And you just get numb to it after a while.
Username Omar C.
Yeah, Tommy are terrible.
You get
Keyboard warrior.
Yeah, you just get numb to it. It just doesn't. I don't know if that's a great or optimistic answer.
Yeah,
but
it just kind of helps me with young lawyers. I mean, I learned by my first trial. I was boarding a plane, and we got a call from the court coordinator that says, "Hey, you guys are trying a case tomorrow." So my boss at the time was like, "I'm going to go do the mediation. You get off the plane and go try that case tomorrow." That was my first trial. And I mean, the nerves that were running through. I'm sure if I didn't have a jacket on, you would have seen my shirt just soaked. It was so scary, and I still feel the same way in front of a jury, and I don't know if that's good, bad, or is always going to be me. But I can talk to you guys, like, no problem.
You ever quit getting butterflies? You don't care enough.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. I mean, you don't have the same issues, the nerves about how's this going to translate, how am I going to communicate, where am I going to stand, all that stuff goes away. But then the concerns become deeper. Like, am I going to sell this theory? Are they going to understand this cross? And, if you don't get butterflies before you go try a case, you don't care enough. I mean, that's just the truth.
And what do you recommend for these younger lawyers going to try their first, second, fifth case, whatever it may be? What do you do?
Nerves?
Well, nerves, preparation, confidence. It's, this is good advice because...
Don't eat a big breakfast.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Something that I work with when we do TAC, every other summer for the trial lawyers, and you get people in there that have not tried a lot of cases, right? And you get that inevitably nervous person, right? And they're standing up and getting ready to give their first opening statement, and they're just frozen. One of the things I tell them to do, as simply as it is, I said, look, man, I'm going to give you a lesson you'll never forget, okay? And it's the easiest lesson that you'll ever have to try to remember. Stop. Now go.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big thing too. And right, as we all know, once you get to trial, the nerves are gone after about 2 minutes, right? They're gone. So if you can use that to sort of stave them off, now you've eaten up 30 seconds or a minute of that 2 minutes, and you're ready to roll.
Yeah, once you get in that flow, it's
yeah.
It's a little Michael Jordan. It's you're shooting a free throw and you don't see anything else. You see your witness. You're not paying it. People ask all the time, "Did you see what juror number 9 did?" I said, "I haven't looked at the jury since I fired 6 of them. I don't know what they're doing. Don't care what they're doing. It's just tunnel vision, and that helps me, to be honest with you. you mentioned it. That part of the reason, if you're not worried about sitting in judgment, you're going to be much better off. You know? You start worrying about what people think about you.
I think something that personally, the experience that is most akin to trying a case is doing stand-up comedy, in my personal experience.
You do stand-up, right?
I do stand-up comedy.
I think you got to be 20 times more brave to do stand-up comedy than to be a trial lawyer, man. I think that takes a lot of guts.
It is so similar. And you can do it. Just go Monday in Houston. If somebody's listening in Houston, the Riot, it's open mic. You just put your name on the list. You get up there. You'll be in front of 50 people. You realize that failing is okay. And actually, comedians are so supportive because every single comedian has gone up there and failed. And there's nothing like realizing that you get up, you say a joke, you don't get a single laugh.
Oh, God.
And you realize you're okay. It's not that big of a deal. And
What a great summer intern, summer associate event to do at a law firm that's a litigation practice. Just take your summer associates, bring them to a stand-up open mic night and say, go forth, sir.
Go tell your favorite joke.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Maybe start with karaoke.
Did you have someone try a case with you the first time? Somebody sitting next to you?
Daniel Horowitz sat with me and made sure I didn't commit malpractice.
Okay.
And he gave me some things.
Did you commit malpractice?
I mean, I got a really horrible review from the client, but no, I did not commit malpractice.
Let me ask you this, Tommy. The first time you told a joke up there, I assume that you wrote the joke, right?
Yes.
You sat and thought about the joke, right? Sat and thought about how you were going to deliver that joke, and you did it the very best that you could, right?
So the very first time I got up on stage, I did not go with the intent of getting on stage. I was too afraid to get on stage. And two comedians, one of them actually works here, which is how I got wrapped into this. They had somebody cancel, and he grabbed me and threw me on stage with about 30 seconds to think about it.
Kind of like Omar's first try.
Yeah, that's right.
That's how I felt.
Yeah, a whole night, though.
Yeah,
a whole night, to prepare for my first trial.
and it went fine. It was a 4 out of 10. The next week I came back with the exact same material, and it was a 8 out of 10. And the next week I came back with the same material. It was a 3 out of 10. So you realize that, one, sometimes it is your personal delivery. But two, if you deliver it great and you don't have the right crowd who can't empathize with you or who don't relate to you, it doesn't mean that you did a bad job. And actually, what I look for in comedians who are professionals, and I'm not a professional, it's a hobby, I do it for fun. I can tell somebody's a pro by how calm and poised they are when things are going bad. The pros are so comfy up there, and sometimes they intentionally make it uncomfortable for the audience. Sometimes a pro will go up on a stand-up comedy stage and say, I'm going to bomb, and I'm just going to see what everybody does. And they'll go and make it real awkward for everybody. I mean, that's their comedy. That's their... It's this
analogy is phenomenal because I'm thinking about, how do you react when the judge comes down on you or the other side says something really damning, and how you react is very telling to the jury. You don't put your head down, you don't put your hands in your face, put your hands in your face, and you kind of just have to keep going. The facts are the facts.
Send your young lawyers to open mic night. That's a hell of an idea. Janet Hansen, who used to work with Jamel, told me she's a playwright because she writes plays for Joe. And she actually does play work on the side, too, it's a side gig. But her job was, she said, a playwright. And I always looked at it that way. And I've told people, I've stolen her line. We write a play. It's not scripted, it's reactive, but you're writing a play for the 12 people that sit in judgment for us. Your analogy's better. I'm going to start sending our folks to go do some open mic night.
But the whole spirit of this show today, we're mentorship. I don't think it would be fair if I didn't go up to show them you're on the same side as them, that we're all going to do it. We're all, lead by example almost, I think, is the best way to do it.
Let us know when you're going.
I know. So we're never going. But that's a really good idea. I feel bad if Lee and Alex have to do this. But
I tell you why they're safe is because I have a rule. Don't ever ask them to do something you wouldn't do yourself.
Exactly.
And I'm not going to do it. So they're safe.
That's fair. Safe. And I think that's a good rule to tell younger lawyers. What else? There's so much, I think, on this subject that when they were 1-year lawyers, I guess they had just 1 year of experience with your firm, right?
Yep.
Did you send them to hearings, depots, all of that?
I did. I sent them into some stuff that was probably a little more complex than they needed to be into, but I also told them I wouldn't put them in a position where they were going to ruin the case. I said, you're just going to have to trust me. I'm not going to send you into a situation where you're going to harm the client, but I am going to send you into a situation where you're going to get some seasoning so that the next time that this comes up, you're not only going to not hurt the client, you're going to help the client. And that's where they are now. They're in a position where they're really helping the clients.
You know, I got good advice when I was probably a 2-3 year lawyer that said, I'm not going to be mad at you if you're pushing a case, if you're aggressive. It's when you sit down and do nothing that you're basically doing a disservice to the client. And do you agree with that?
Yeah, like that's the worst, right? Yeah. Watts used to preach, shoot, I don't care if you miss a target as long as you're shooting at the target. I'm torn on that advice. Like, I look, the worst sin is to not do anything, right? But the next almost equally bad sin is just doing something boneheaded that you hadn't thought through. I had a professor at Baylor, we were talking about Baylor earlier, Louis Muldrow, and it's a statement that I've used over and over again, but it's so simple. He taught us one day, he said, look, over the course of your career as a lawyer, sometimes you should stop and think. Pretty simple, but pretty profound. How many people do we know that are knee-jerk lawyers, right?
Oh, yeah.
The keyboard, the knee-jerk lawyer, keyboard response, the knee-jerk response and not keeping your cool when things aren't going your way in trial. Sometimes it's okay, and it's advisable even, to stop and think, why am I doing this? What am I doing? How am I going to go about this? What do I hope to accomplish? And so, yeah, I think it's important to fire the bullets, but I also think it's important to fire good bullets.
Do you think, when you said you sent these Lee and Alex to more complex depositions than they should have been in at the time, but do you think that people can lose cases in depositions?
Yeah, I think you can lose a case in a deposition. I don't think I put them in a position. I think they'd tell you I never put them in a position where they were going to lose.
Yeah.
And look, let's be fair, too. They also did a really good job. Those two guys are overachievers. They've done super well. They're super smart. They're super prepared. But, yeah, I think you can lose a case in a deposition.
Yeah. And so I think preparation is always going to be the big thing. What does your dad say? The 5 Ps: prior preparation prevents poor performance.
I'm glad you know that because I don't.
Oh, we get it a lot.
You're
but
getting different advice.
Yeah, that's true. But I think those 5 Ps are very important for everybody in the business, not just young lawyers. But the more prepared you are, everything that's thrown at you will be ready for.
When you threw him into that scenario, was it a test or a reward or a mix of both?
It was both. It was both, right? You got to earn that opportunity. You got to show me that you're willing to prepare and that you know the materials. We started out by them following and shadowing me at depositions, and frankly, I always do my own outline and preparation, but I would have them do it too. And I wanted to compare and make sure they were seeing the issues, right? It's a law school test. And it was earned, but it was also
see what you
in the
got.
fire a little bit. Yeah. At some point, they got to have that, right?
Yeah.
And I just don't know how we train. Here's the real issue. Maybe you guys can shed some insight on this. How do you train young trial lawyers anymore, right? Because you can send them to the DA's office, right? I don't even know on the criminal side if they're trying cases. On the catastrophic injury or the big firm business litigation, nobody's trying cases anymore. I mean, I had and I won't go into it specifically with names, but we've got a case coming up, and a big firm joined in on the defense side. You'll know exactly who they are, right? And this lady came in and said, well, if we got to try cases, that's just what we do. We're trial lawyers. And I looked her up, man. She's never tried a case. I'm like, is this a joke that this 17-year lawyer that's at a big firm is telling me what a trial lawyer she is, and she's never sat first chair in a case?
I could advise our insurance client friends that may or may not watch this, the worst thing they can do is get nervous and panicky and find really good local panel counsel that tries cases who we all know to bring in the corporate giant because the board of directors thinks it matters, and the board of directors thinks it can send a message. If I get that notice of appearance, I start salivating.
That's my favorite thing.
We call it a multiplier.
Yeah, we recently, Omar, we won't say the law firm, but at Kurt Garcia, we recently had a big brand name law firm enter in on a case. And the email chain was, oh, this is fantastic. Their reserves just went up.
Yeah. And that's a credit to the Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, Austin Defense Bar, who has really skilled trial counsel who doesn't have $1,200 an hour rates where the board of directors is going to say, well, we lost, but we lost with X as opposed to losing with Y. Keep Y because you're actually going to get a better value out of the case. You'll probably sell during trial for a hell of a lot cheaper, and you might actually win.
Yeah, we're thankful you're on our side.
Yeah.
You know, knocked one out.
Big Firm X ain't going to change the facts.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Big Firm X ain't going to change my cross.
No, that's right.
I mean, it's the same thing.
One question. You mentioned True Believer. Are you proud, and I bet you are, the fact that when you started cutting your teeth, you were doing tires and roofs and rollovers and seat backs and side curtain airbag cases. And one of the reasons you don't do much products work anymore is because cars have got safer.
That's a fact, man.
They get safer in the engineering room of the courthouse? And
Yeah.
you were part of that, were you not?
You know, I guess somewhere very deep down inside, you hope that's the case, right? I really do. I think that, you know, as you go back and look at some of the work that we were all fortunate to, you know, kind of be a part of and do, and you see a lot of those design issues that we really believed were costing lives.
ESC.
Yeah, right. So you look at Ford, GM, and there's, you know, that's ridiculous. That's not what that's for.
For the non-products folks, electronic stability control, which you guys knew was an opportunity to have better control of the steering capabilities and handling capabilities of a vehicle that was optional.
Yeah.
And then you guys went and raised hell in trials all over the country saying, don't make safety an option. And then NHTSA got involved and other folks got involved and says, hey, these things won't roll over at the same rate. If we put this in, we'll put it in. But
And
they
roofs, we can't make roofs strong enough.
got mulched in a few courthouses along the way too.
They did. We can't make the airbags fire in time to keep occupants inside of the vehicle.
Side curtain.
Roll over. Yeah, come on, man. Now it's standard on every vehicle. You can't buy a vehicle that doesn't have it on there anymore. You know, and I look back maybe the 50s and 60s and 70s when those guys were arguing for airbags and seatbelts. You know, seatbelts weren't even standard back then. And you look at some of the work they did, you're hopeful. You're hopeful that as you look back, it put us out of business a little bit. You know, the theories have gotten a little thin on the product liability side. But man, you sure hope that what you did at least had a little bit of part of it.
Yeah, it's better to have a non-client dropping their children off at school than a client who doesn't have that child anymore.
I always said if nobody ever wheels themselves in with a broken neck because their roof collapsed on them or their vehicle rolled over unnecessarily, I'll be a happy guy. And it's true.
And I talked to a tire expert we've all worked with, and he told me, he's like, well, business is pretty light now because of all the litigation. They fixed these tires. They're few and far between. And he's like, and if something goes wrong, there's a lot of user error involved now because these tires are built so well, which is great.
Yeah.
And so, I know I always considered Hunter as a products lawyer. The more I ask him about it, he's like, well, I haven't really done a products case lately because I don't have to. He's more catastrophic 18-wheelers and oil field explosions, oil field injuries, which happen a lot in Texas, but.
Well, you know, and it's justification too, because and Will will tell you, when the fights with Ford, Chrysler, Toyota, GM, I mean, they were real fights, right? And their whole position is, well, we can't, and if we do, it won't work. And so here you do, 10, 15 years later, you see that, they could all along, right? And it's when you discover the memos that they had in there that they did know how to do it. They had it on file. Yeah. They just put it on a shelf instead of putting it in a car.
There's always some engineer that writes some memo that is just fabulous.
They had that widget sitting on a shelf, and right next to it, they had videotapes back in those days, right? Videotapes of the crash testing showing it worked. And to hear, it didn't work, we don't know how to do it, and all this. And you look back, it's just BS. But it's justification for why, I hate people. I still hate Ford Motor Company, like the bully on the playground, man. I just do. I hate those people.
Well, it's amazing because even if it costs more, they just pass it on to the consumer. You can't buy a Ford Explorer or a Expedition or a Tahoe for for under $90,000 anymore. And they used to be the cars that were very affordable.
You still drive a Tahoe?
I do.
Good. You've got rollover activated side air curtains. Did you notice when you went to buy that car, the $4 difference it took to get the cold air inflators in your car to activate these rollover air curtains?
No.
Were you bitching about the $4 extra that you had to pay on your Tahoe? I sure
didn't, yeah.
But I bet your wife is glad that if anybody ever causes you to roll that thing over, that you're going to stay inside of the car.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
and more so,
sense.
I have a 2.5-year-old, and let me tell you how the difference of safety has completely changed my way of driving, my way of everything. It's funny how that works.
Well, yeah, and then once you have a kid, because you're a lawyer, the first thing you do is, can I get the sled test? Can I look at the seat back? Can I look at the, I bought a British-built Britex seat, not the ones they sell here, because I called a child safety seat lawyer we know in Dallas and said, what's your current safer alternative design? Because I'm buying that one.
Yep.
And that's what he told me to get.
Ship it overseas.
It's amazing. The little things, like we had a pool and, we spent a fortune to put a glass around it because how many drowning cases have you seen just from, it's not anyone's, not usually someone's fault, but it's just, come on, like the little things that we do to protect, just pay the extra. It's one of those that you can't put a price on child safety at least.
No, they always ask you, that's the question you get all the time, right? Your friends getting ready to buy a car, getting ready to get tires. They want a child seat. What do I get? Well, if you're going to get tires, get the newest and most expensive ones. Yeah. If you're going to get a car seat, get the nicest and most expensive one, right? That's just it, right? You're going to get what you pay for.
Then you're teaching them how to read the numbers on the side of the tire.
When it was printed.
Yeah, when it was like, it was this year and this month, this week of that year. And I used to remember, as soon as I was learning tire litigation, I went and looked at all the tires, but my wife's car, my car, I was like, we got to get rid of this one. And I will never patch a tire. I'll just get a new one. And then they're like, well, then the other one doesn't work. I was like, get the other one. It's just, those tires, they're scary because we've seen so much. And it's like those farmers commercials, like, we know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two. And I think that's very true for our line of business.
My girls, it's kind of sad, but we were talking about how it trickles down to your family. My girls know how to look at that and tell what date their tires were manufactured on. And they know never to get a patch or a plug. Just replace the tire.
Yeah,
just replace the tire, man.
It's funny. So anything else with Hunter? Anything? If you had one thing you wanted to tell younger lawyers, what would it be?
Find a mentor, man. Find a mentor and get as much advice, soak up as much as you can. Not just about how to try cases. And I think that's the whole focus anymore, right? Is everybody, I want to try cases. I want to try cases. I want to know how to try cases. Teach me how to cross. Teach me how to. There is so much more to it, right? There's the mental health aspect. There's the balance of family. There is other off-the-field issues. People need friends, right? You need friends in this business, and you need somebody that you can go just sit down to in a pinch, as well as somebody that you can look up to for not only how to do things, but how to do it right. And I don't mean correctly, although it involves being correctly, but I mean ethically as well. Like, how would you handle this? And I would tell older lawyers, too, the flip side of that coin. Man, be available. Be available when young lawyers need you, because they need you. And I think we're really lacking in that these days. The more and more of these young, I call them venomous defense lawyers that are kind of in that 10-year range, right? They think they got their teeth cut and they're ready to go, and they're the most dangerous snakes because they're the most willing to bite, but they don't really understand what they're doing. They don't really understand what they're doing. And so I'm seeing a real lack of mentorship on both sides of the bar, and I think that's the piece of advice I would get. You got to have a solid building block. You got to have a base, man. Yeah. And the only way you get a good, solid base is acknowledgement through somebody you respect and trust to verify that.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think that's the message for the older folks listening. When you get a LinkedIn direct message, when you get somebody send you a cell phone text or email and says, hey, can we meet for coffee? Say yes.
Yeah.
Say yes and help and give back.
That's it.
Yeah.
I agree with you, man. It's our duty. It's our responsibility, too. Unless we want to leave this place in a cesspool,
On a personal level, my whole life, I was a little too busy to do that outside of my own team. I did mentor my team. I thought I did it effectively. I've been fortunate recently. I probably meet with people once a week that I don't know that reach out to me. And I tell the audience, say yes, because it is incredibly rewarding to know you're helping people. Yeah, say yes.
Choking over here.
You all right, bro?
I'll fix Omar's near death in post.
I just got choked up with all your sentiment,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a sentimental guy. Hey, shout out to Dirk, too, before we go off. I know Dirk got thrown under a bus for a bad picture earlier, but before we went on the air, he was the first guy in all my years that start with a 5 that anybody's ever called me soft-spoken, so I appreciate you, brother. You're a friend for life.
Dirk is the only reason why this exists.
Yeah, man.
All right.